What is going on? This is session 90 of the Dealer Playbook Podcast. Thanks so much for joining me today, whether you're on YouTube or iTunes or Stitcher Radio or Facebook or wherever. I'm so glad you're here because I've got a really cool show lined up. My guest is Mat Koenig. He's the CEO of Buscador de Auto. Now, I don't know, you guys are going to have to comment and let me know how good my accent or how awful, pitiful my accent was there. Nonetheless, really cool topic about how to lead human beings in the digital age. And it's kind of funny when you think about it. If you've been following the show for a while or have had the opportunity to listen to a few shows, anytime we get heavy into the concept of digital, I mean, we're kind of seeing it come full circle back to just being a good human being. And for those of you that know me, know that my belief, firmly rooted, is that the way to succeed in business is to be a good person. So you're going to hear Matt and myself talk about how to lead human beings in the digital age. Stay tuned and let's dive in. All right, here we go. Sitting down now with Mat Koenig. So happy to call him a friend. We've got a really exciting topic lined up for you. But Matt, thanks so much for joining me on the Dealer Playbook.
Man, thanks for having me. It's been a while, man. I love the show, so I'm stoked to be back on here with you, bro.
Right on. Glad to have you as well. And it's cool because the topic that you've kind of submitted to talk about today immediately intrigued me because it's something that I'm so passionate about, and I'm sure I've ranted about it like for years and years. I'm pretty sure my team is sick of hearing me rant about this topic, but I want to kind of lead this in because I feel like, in my observation, the internet, and for those of you listening or watching, don't take this the wrong way, okay? But I feel like the internet turned us into a bunch of dummies. Like, we digital just rose in popularity, and all of a sudden we're all kind of like, how do I be a good person, or how do I act around people, and how do I don't get it. And in fact, I'm working on an article right now, and I've haven't published it because it's taking so long for me to like find the right groove, but it's basically like people sit down behind the keyboard and it quantum leaps them Scott Bakula style into an alternate reality where all of a sudden they don't know how to exist. So my question for you is this: in your observation, what has the digital age changed in human behavior and in the way that we work with one another?
That's a really good question, and there are a million things that has changed. But first, the thing I have to address is those that don't know your reference. You were talking about Voyagers, weren't you? The show from back in the day where with the little dial that they would turn, it flipped open, and then
like Quantum Leap, yeah. Quantum Leap.
Quantum Leap. Okay.
The guy, and he was always like Ziggy. Every episode, Ziggy broke.
Okay, yeah, so like the Quantum Leap came after Voyagers with Jeffrey and Phineas Fogg.
Yeah.
So that's just, I'm dating myself.
Wait, was it a spinoff?
I think Quantum Leap was, well, the guy in Voyagers, I think he died, the older guy. But yeah, but now I'm remembering Quantum Leap, which was also a show I loved afterwards. So sorry. So speaking of the way technology has changed things, so, here's the thing that I've seen the most with the internet, and sadly, it's changed the leadership mindset. So, technology, everything that we have is supposed to make us be able to connect better and deeper, faster. But I think the biggest thing that has changed is it's made, especially in the leadership area, it's made their brain go soft. Like, oh, well, we've got a CRM that does that. Or our website should do that. And I'm like, yeah, this isn't Field of Dreams, guys. Like, it doesn't work on itself. So I think that's the biggest thing that's changed is we've got this mindset now that everything is going to be done for us instead of utilizing technology as a tool.
Do you think that they're blinded because of terms that are getting thrown around a lot, like marketing automation and email automation? Is it that term that's pulling them out of context?
I think so. And I'll tell you, I think to some extent, a few years ago, I would say I was very guilty of it too, right? So in looking at people's desire to be lazy, we went, okay, listen, I know, and I was guilty of this. I'm like, I know the best thing for a dealer to do back when I did video SEO. Sure. I knew the very best thing a dealer could do is go out and shoot their own video, upload it to YouTube and embed it on their site, or upload it directly to their site. But for them to do it on their own, yet I knew they wouldn't do it. So what did we do? Well, we went out and, shot a bunch of specific video that could be used in multiple dealers and then said, okay, you can all buy it. Well, guess what? It worked for about a year. And then it was a bunch of duplicate content, right? So I think the reason that it's happening to dealers is because the people that are selling them are going path of least resistance. They know that if you're a dealer, you want to hear easy, no work for you, just write check, you make more money. And dealers are buying it.
Yeah. And a lot of the
There's a lot of that. I mean, it's amazing. I see some of, I'm looking at Digital Dealer coming up, and I see a lot of the conferences, and you'll see like so many, I'll call them big named dealers, like well recognized, very popular names that are speaking at these things, and you're looking at some of the things you're doing, and you're going, why in the heck is this person being heralded as like a god? Like, do the math on the number of stores they have, and you're going to go, wait a minute, they're underperforming relative to every other dealer out there, but they lump all their stores as one, and now they're a superstar. And you look at the tech that they're using, and you're going, they're not doing anything. So I have a real big problem with what's going on right now with dealers and technology. It's challenging.
Okay, so let me ask you this, because this was the topic that you had submitted, leading human beings in the digital age. First of all, can you give us some context? What does that mean? Does it tie into what we've already talked about? And then on to the question of, well, how do you do that?
Yeah, so it does tie in. And what I mean by that, leading human beings in a digital age, is this. For some reason, we have separated out the human things that we've done for years, right? Meeting with our teams daily, sitting down with our salespeople, getting to know them, building a relationship, and teaching them how to do the same with a consumer. And we've segregated that from email, texting, chat, Skype, video, email.
Sure.
And so what's happened is we've gone, well, it used to be this, but now it's this, instead of it used to be this, and now we have these tools that make this so much nicer. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm saying, is that in this digital age, we've thrown the baby out with the bathwater, but there's a way to lead our people back, like Moses parting the Red Sea. We can still take them to the promised land without abandoning all the tech.
Okay, so... and that intrigues me. I find this. So I have a digital company. I have a team that's spread out all over the place. We rely on technology to keep communication open, but something that I've noticed is, even though there are so many methods to communicate and to do those things that you've just talked about, like team meetings and one-on-ones and trainings and all those sorts of things, it sounds kind of weird, but it's almost... You have to put more effort into making sure that those things happen versus being in person. And so do you find that in a dealership, they have access to all of these pieces of technology that are supposed to make things easier, but they're having trouble bridging the gap between, well, wait a second, we're still in person, but we're trying to use this piece of technology that would just actually be more efficient if we did it in person still, or manually did things, or what's your take on that?
Well, so let's rewind time. I'll rewind time back to late 90s, 2000, when I was a Nissan sales manager. And back in the day, and I'll throw back an old school name, Joe Verdi training, right? So when I learned how to be a sales manager, and I'll say when I learned how to be a sales leader instead of a manager, one of the big things I learned was daily one-on-ones with your people. Now back then, and I still tell people, I think it's the best way to do it for especially in a dealership environment, but every single salesperson on the team, we had the exact same time each day. Right? And I would set aside a half an hour. And my part of it was, basically three things. Talk to me about yesterday, talk to me about the game plan today, and what do you need from me to help you be successful, right? But I would block so that would take, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. But I would block a half an hour, in case they needed to unload, unburden themselves, share some concerns, share some ideas, whatever they wanted to do, right? But it showed them that they were valuable to me. Now, that's back then. Today, everybody in the office, we all communicate with each other. But I'll give you an example. Like back then, every client you met face-to-face when you sold a car, right? Stuff like that. Now, today, we've got 5, 6, 7 people in our office. Not a lot. We all talk. We see each other throughout the day a little bit in the mornings. Our guys on the phone are in the downstairs part of the building. Then you got myself, Tim, Chris, our office manager. We're up here in the upstairs part of the building. But we have office chat open all day long, right? So, so the guys don't have to hike up 2 flights of stairs to have a conversation. They can just message back and forth. But our lines of communication feel open. Now, that's in the same building, and we still aren't talking face-to-face every time we talk. But we utilize technology in a way for the purpose of making it easier. We don't have the big conversations and the important ones via office chat. We all pull together at the table and like a family, and we talk. Now, granted, in-house, everyone that works here is either a friend or a family member. So we don't hire people that we don't know in our building, because a relationship and trust to us is valuable. Now, flip that to our customer side, right? Here's how we use technology. 90% of the clients that we have never met face-to-face. Everything that we've done to bring them on was done utilizing technology via web meeting. But not the lazy way. We didn't just throw crap in an email. Oh, look it over, and if you like it, tell us. We set up a meeting. We have a dialogue with them. We get to know them. We ask questions. We build a relationship. So I think a lot of what's happened is that instead of utilizing these tools, and to circle way back, and sorry if I digress, but a lot of these tools that were designed to help us be able to be closer, like for me, Office Chat is designed to make it efficient for our guys. If they have a quick question, we can serve their needs. And we can do it quickly without expecting them to spend half an hour or whatever.
Right.
But I think we've taken it and we've almost utilized technology to distance ourselves from people, as opposed to using it to bring them closer and build a relationship.
Okay, so in your observation, working with dealerships, what's an example of this happening at the dealership level? I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is live chat, but I mean, we're told that live chat is a good thing. Is that an example of something that is distancing the real life relationship that needs to happen?
Sometimes it can be, especially if you're outsourcing your live chat to someone who's not even in your store, or somebody in India, managed chat. I know there's pros and cons and arguments, that everybody who sells managed chat has a great argument for why you should have it. Mm-hmm. But I'll give you a great real world example. In the dealership, we have BDCs, right? Mm-hmm. So BDCs, a business development center, 9 out of 10 of them don't develop any business. They're a call answering center, email responding center. Now, I'm sure this is going to make a few BDC managers butthurt, but I really don't care about their feelings. I care about them getting better. And here's the thing. We created BDCs to say we're going to make it more efficient. We're going to process things faster. But here's what we really did. We went, our salespeople aren't following up well. They're not doing well on the phone. So rather than educating them, rather than me as a leader sitting down with my people and leading them and helping better them as a human being, I'm going to go, let's just put in a BDC and let them set all the appointments, and then hand them over so that I can have a trained monkey walk around a car, sit in the passenger seat on a test drive and go, you want to buy it? I mean, that's what we've done. So when I say leadership, to me, all of this goes back to a leadership problem. In the dealership, I think the reason that stuff happens that way to the consumer and chat and stuff being so distant and quick and any more questions is because we don't take the time to actually sit down and talk to our people anymore in the dealership. Most people in a quote unquote leadership title role are not even close to being a leader. They are managing problems, managing advertising, and firefighting, man. They're not leading anybody anywhere. They go in, they sit at their desk or sit in the tower, and they come to work to wait for something to manage. And that causes their salespeople to do the same thing. Does that make sense? I mean,
yeah, and my mind was moving on. Okay, I know there are people watching this, they're listening in, and they're going, okay, I can see that we're kind of in this same boat. Things are kind of getting out of control. What you just said about sitting down with the team, or on the flip side of the desk, being the salesperson or the employee or team member initiating a conversation, is that the first step in saying, hey, look, we've got to do this more often? Is that the first step to pulling it back in, or what would you say the course of action would need to be to kind of tie this, kind of bring it all together again so that it's working properly?
I think the first step is we have to be honest about where we're at, right? So if you're in a business, in a dealership, whatever, you sell cars, boats, RVs, real estate, it doesn't matter. If you're in a company where you've got people, the first thing you got to do is stop and be honest with yourself, and we've got to set our ego on the shelf. Now, that might sound weird coming from a guy who's pretty arrogant and egotistical often, but I do recognize it as being the fact that we have to do. So we've got to stop and go, okay, what's not working right now? And here's what I would say. If I come to you and you're the leader of a dealership, and let's say you're the general manager, and I said, let me ask you this. What are the top 3 things that are the most important in the lives of your sales managers? And if you can't answer that as a GM, you're a failure because you don't know your people. And if you're a sales manager and I say, let me ask you this, for every one of the salespeople that you lead on your team, if I were to ask you what is the most important thing in each of their lives, what are they working for? What is it? And if you can't, and I'm not saying you have to have it memorized, you may have it written down because you spend time with them and you listen, but if you can't go, well, you know what? Here's what I know. I know that Chris loves real estate. I know he's got multiple properties right now. I know he's got one house that he's about to finish, and I know what that's going to do for him when that house flips. I know he's got another one that he just bought. I know we just looked at motorcycles together because he's passionate about getting back and riding. So I can tell you what fires him up, man. If you can't do that, you're no leader. So step 1 is you got to recognize and be honest and go, here's where I'm failing. I don't know my people. 90% of the time, that's the case. They only know the person's resume and last month's results. They don't know their people. So that's step 1, is you got to stop and get to know your people. And step 2 is this. You got to stop lying to them all. And here's what I mean. Dealers are liars. And sales managers are liars when they hire people. And now I don't mean they're deceptive in how they sell cars. But to their employees, they tell them things like this. This is your own business. You're your own business person. Your success and failure is up to you. What a freaking, try not to swear in your show. What a effing lie. Really? Because when there's snow on the ground, if you say to me, let's go broom cars, and I go, dude, I'm not brooming cars. It's my own business. Let's get some porters out here to do it. What are you going to say? No, we all broom cars. Well, wait a minute. I'm not getting paid a salary or hourly. I'm the commissioned salesperson. I make my living being on the phone, building relationships and getting appointments. And I can't do that when I'm in snow gear spending 3 hours brooming snow off cars. Oh, it's not my own business. What you're telling me is I'm a free employee and I get to use your inventory. And if I sell stuff, I get a percentage of it. Like, let's just be honest. Dealers are not. They're lying to people. So either tell your people, you work for me, you're going to give me some free labor in the snowy season, you're going to give me some free labor when we move the cars because we don't care enough about you to let you be a business person, and we'd rather not pay another $8 an hour employee, right? So first you got to know your people. Second, well, I guess first would be you got to stop lying when you're hiring them. But you got to know your people, you got to be honest with your people, and you've got to treat them like adults. Now that being said, once you've got them on your team, there are things you have to do to be a great leader, but those are the places to start to pull it back together, right? You've got them on your team. Hey, let's be honest with them. Let's get to know them, because once we know them, then we can start mapping out goals based on what they want. Then we can sit down and do all those things.
Yeah. You know what's interesting to me is there are several episodes now, past episodes of the show, rolling through my brain. And it's funny, whether we're speaking with you or other guests on the show, whenever we ask a question about, okay, how do we fix the most important problems at the dealership, it always comes back to the leader first being self-aware, and identifying or performing an audit of, okay, where can we actually improve? Where are the breakdowns? What can we do to change those things? And, what you said as step 2, stop lying. That's really, I mean, that's kind of eye-opening even for me, because I can recount scenarios where I might have said the same thing to the quote-unquote salespeople on my team, where it's like, wait, you have all these expectations of them as an employee, but you also have expectations of them as a quote-unquote business person. But you can't be self-employed and want the benefits of an employee or whatever it is. So that's really impressive. But I mean, everything kind of comes back to this concept of you pull things back by being a better leader, and a better leader is not a manager or a manager of problems. It's about getting to know your team, being a part of their life in a way that's I guess a mentoring role. Being somebody that they respect. I learned years ago, actually one of my mentors taught me that a well-respected leader is better than a good friend.
That's a great saying, man. It really is.
So it's more about not being a manager, being a leader, not being a friend, being a leader. And you pull things back together. It creates a culture inside the store that people buy into. And as they've bought into it, then they're ultimately able to create a better experience for the customer.
Well, it goes back to so people always talk about old school and new school, like old school leaders. Oh, they want to do this and they want to do that and everything's, this is this. But new school is so detached. Like everybody has this, they feel like it's either one or the other, right? And it's a tricky thing to navigate when we make it tricky.
Right.
But here's the reality. We have to look at the why to understand what's going on here. And the why is this. The why is that leaders view themselves as a boss. And here's the thing, dude, throughout history, and I said this at the Rockstar Auto Conference that we put on because I was talking about leadership there. So when we talk about leading people in a digital age, there's one thing that doesn't change, and that's this. We have to have a servant mindset, right? A leader is not your boss. Now, when they speak, there's an authority that comes with it, but it's not an authority out of fear. It's an authority out of knowing that they have your best interests in mind and they're leading you to for lack of a better phrase, to the promised land, right? They're leading you in the right direction.
Right.
Jim Ziegler and I were doing an interview together somewhere, and he was like, but people know I'm the manager. When I talk, they'll listen. And I said, and I think, though, what you mean by that is, because they know you've walked the path and got the results, they will choose to listen. Because you're not a leader if people don't want to follow you. And if you look throughout history and going back even biblically, for example, Jesus was the example of the best leader, the best marketer, the best everything, right? He spoke, people listened, people piled on a hill, people ate together, people sat down together. But how did he behave? Dude, he washed people's feet. And for those that don't really understand the implications behind that, and so that's not even a biblical thing. That's just a period thing, right? For the time period back then, people walked around in sandals. It was a dusty climate. People had very dirty feet. When they would come to your home, a servant would wash their feet before they would come into your home and sit and eat with you. And here's a guy that was being recognized as a king, as a messiah, whatever people wanted to call him, right?
Sure.
It doesn't matter if religious beliefs, they shake it off and just listen to this part. Here's someone who is highly regarded, and he sits down, he's doing the servant job.
Yeah.
In a leadership role in a dealership environment, we need to learn how to wash people's feet again. When we bring someone on, we need to realize if we serve them, if we wash their feet, if we put them first, we're going to reap the rewards as well. And so the mindset, what's screwing it up with digital is we think we're their boss rather than being there to serve them and help them succeed. So we start putting processes in place rather than understanding that person and creating a process that will actually bring a benefit to them and help them serve the customer well. Since we don't serve our people don't view the customer as someone to serve. They view them as someone to get something from, to get a sale from, to get money from. And why? Well, because we view them as an employee to get work from, to get sales from, to get money from. It starts here. Well, I say here just in a hierarchy pyramid.
Yeah.
It starts with leader. I serve you. That sets an example. You serve the customer.
It reminds me of, a few years ago, I was chatting, again, another mentor of mine, I was chatting with him, and, everything you've said reminds me of I think the word that sums this up, and it's stewardship. And I remember I was chatting with this individual, and I said, I have really high hopes for the people that I have stewardship over. And I thought I was being clever using the word stewardship. And he said, he says, change the word. And I said, which word? Stewardship? He said, no, over. He said, you don't have stewardship over anybody. You have a stewardship for people. And that's kind of the thought process that's going through my mind right now as you've been sharing about how to be a good leader. It is that you have a stewardship for your team, and that stewardship is to build them, motivate them, lift them, train them. The term I'm thinking of is like to succor them. How can I succor them? In other words, not succor like SUCKER, but SUCCOR. How do I help
bring them in?
How do I bring them in so that they can achieve their potential?
Bingo. See, now that word, so that's a word that I really had to do a paradigm shift on potential. And I no longer say to people, you have a lot of potential. Because and I learned this in 2000. I was a sales manager at that Nissan store. And I had a gentleman working for me. I'm like in late 20s, 29, 30 years old. And I've got I guess I was 25 years old. Boy, I feel real old now. So I was like 25, and I'm a sales manager at a store. We grew 67% in gross profit, 42% in unit sales. We were firing on all 12 cylinders, which meant 3 Nissans. We were doing well. And Mark, who looked like Jack Nicholson, we always called him Jack, but his name was Mark, and he came and sat down with me, and just buttoned up, really great dude. And he's like, man, you're doing such a great job, man. I appreciate you. Best manager I've ever worked for. And this is so flattering, right? Like, and I'm an emotional kid, so I'm nearly in tears. And he goes, you've got a lot of potential. And I go, well, thank you. He goes, that wasn't a compliment. Potential means you have a lot of talent you're not using. And he goes, and you can sit there and have all that potential for the rest of your life, or you can figure out a way to do something better with it. And I can tell you right now, staying here and sitting in this chair, you're never going to do anything better with it. And that kind of woke me up to realizing what I wasn't doing. I said, well, I thanked him and I said, help me understand what I'm not doing that I could be doing. And it was a really good dialogue. And that's the other thing a lot of leaders don't do. I think there's 3 key things, right? One, you got to inspire your people. Steve Jobs inspired people in spite of his butthole traits that he had here and there. The guy inspired people. Even when they didn't like him sometimes, he inspired them so much they wanted to take action, right? Sometimes action to leave because they couldn't stand him. But he inspired. But listening to people is what a lot of leaders just don't do. Listening to those that come before us. But if you want to be a good leader in a digital age, you've got to listen to the people that are on your team because they've got ideas. But if you listen well enough, they'll tell you how to lead them better. We just have to open our ears, and if we're serving them, we'll want to do that, right?
Dude, I mean, this is something that I feel like I could talk about for another 2 hours. Really, everything we've talked about, I mean, the concept of the title is intriguing, right? How to lead human beings in the digital age. And I know a lot of people are listening to this going, yes, digital age, how do I do it? But what we've really discovered is the best way is to first remember that you're a human being and to connect with and build relationships of trust with other human beings. Really, the irrelevant side of this is digital age.
Digital is the tool to help you do it. Yeah. And here's a great example. Mike Davenport, right? Yeah. Louisville Chevy dude. Yeah. I was out in Las Vegas with Mike when we were a digital dealer. And we are downtown on Fremont Street. It is evening. Everybody is ready for a fun night on Fremont Street, right? Yep. We're all had just ordered drinks, and Mike gets a phone call. Said, guys, I got to go. Oh, correction. He got a Facebook message. He said, guys, I got to go. I've got a client that's picking us up. He's buying a Corvette from me. I'll be back. He leaves. Now, this guy sent a Bentley with a driver to pick him up. Takes him back to his house. Mike came back about 2.5 hours later after playing the guy's $400,000 race car simulator. Mike came back with a $30,000 deposit on a vet that he ordered for the guy. Now, here's why I share this. Because Mike has some characteristics of how his boss, here, I'm going to give Mike's boss credit, who I've never met. Mike's boss allows Mike to be an adult and a business professional. Mike is doing business remotely. Mike doesn't have to sit at the dealership all day to generate business. Yeah. And so being a good leader in a digital age, I think we need to also realize while we need to build that human connection with our people, we also need to give them the freedom to not sit in our company. If you've got somebody who their job is to do stuff on social media and things like that, why do they need to sit in your store? They don't. If you've got a great salesperson who's doing 25, 30 cars a month and almost all of them are orders, why do they need to take up office space in your dealership?
Right.
Let them work from home. Yeah. They can access your website and your inventory from their house in their pajamas. Yeah. If you're a good leader, then you've inspired and taught your people in a way that they don't need you breathing over their shoulders. So when I say in a digital age, I truly mean we do need to utilize some of those tools, Facebook Messenger, texting, iMessage, all those things to allow our people to go and be a professional. We no longer need to lord over them.
Yeah.
Like we never really needed to anyway. But now we really don't have a reason to. Because look at you and I. You're in Canada. I'm in Kalamazoo, Portage, Michigan. And here we are having a face-to-face meeting as friends.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Love it. Yes, I mean, this is such a good conversation. I think this is going to be one of those conversations that we have over the next 3 years, because it'll just pick up again every time we see each other in person. In winding down, I want to just turn it over to you. How can listeners and viewers get in touch with you specifically?
Some of the best ways, I mean, obviously they can go to our website if they want, bdaspanish.com. It's Buscador de Auto, but since many folks can't spell Spanish stuff, bdaspanish.com is our company website. But if they want to connect with me, if they just go on Facebook and look up Mat Koenig, that's Matkoenig, they'll find me on there. And on Twitter, it's at KONIGCO. Every day I do a Facebook live stream on my public figure page, as well as Periscope that pops on Twitter. So trying to keep people educated and informed and inspired.
However, the caveat to sending a friend request to Mat Koenig is that if you do not show that you are employed somewhere specifically, and if it's not a real place, dude, he ain't friending you. That's all I can say. I saw it.
I'm not, it's funny, and I'll tell you, speaking of that, so it's funny that you bring it up, my friend. I'm really not accepting anybody right now at all. Everybody just connects with me on my public figure page that's Spear built for me, and I manage it just like my Facebook, but I'm really trying to bring back the Facebook to the personalized level, because it's so inundated with marketing. Listen, there are people that are big named people that they just got rocket launched off Facebook and they don't even know it. But let me just, if you don't mind, can I give a shout out of a great leadership example?
Absolutely.
So in this digital age, so Grant Cardone is somebody who I've learned from since the 90s. Like when I sucked as a salesperson in 1995, I got turned on to Grant Cardone training, first day of 1995. And it's what really turned my career around at first when I was young. And then I managed to screw it up later and then get back on. But so we did this Rockstar Auto Conference at the beginning of March. And Grant flew up with Elena and Scarlett and Sabrina and flew up and spoke to all these folks. Now, here's why this is a big deal. Because he did it in his jet with his money. He didn't ask us for one solitary penny to do this. And what did he do? He was going to come in and just do a Q&A session. Well, he saw how hungry these people were to learn, and as a leader, he spent an hour with these folks, man. Now, he took pictures with every single person. He took a photo one by one with we only had a small intimate group local and a couple thousand that watched online, but he had 70 people he stopped, took the time to take personal photos with, and then not only pumped him up, shared some great business practices, but then he took time to do a Q&A until every person was done. That to me is a great example, because here's a guy that's digitally everywhere, but he understands that the most powerful thing in the world is a relationship. And he flew up and did that. Dude, epic example of a rock star leader. Cardone is. And as much as people say, he's crazy, he's fluff, he's so over the top, it's all attention. Yeah. Truth be told, man, the guy's got a heart of gold, and he brought his whole family. On his birthday, nonetheless. It was his birthday.
I remember seeing that,
And he spent the money and flew up and did that for us just to be a friend. And mind you, he and I, we even hang out and had dinner. We're not besties. Yeah. To me, he's been more of a mentor, and a mentor from a distance, like Tony Robbins is.
Yeah.
And he came and did that for us. So there's a great example of a good leader in the digital age, man.
Love it. Matt, thanks so much for joining me on the Dealer Playbook today.
Oh, thank you. This is a total privilege. I really appreciate it, Mike. Keep rocking and rolling, and kudos to you and Flex Dealer and everything you guys are doing.
Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, bro.
And that was Mat Koenig, CEO of Buscador de Auto. No, seriously, I want to know how my accent is there. Really cool episode. Some of the things that stood out to me is the fact that, again, it's about being a good human being. It's about connecting with your team. It's about the people who are quote unquote in charge being really invested in shaping the culture. I've had the opportunity in my career to
watch a lot of cool companies rise and then kind of plateau and then start to like dip a little bit because the leadership wasn't invested in the team. And, you know, you might have some really good team members who are, you know, really invested and who are helping shape the culture or have helped you build the company for which you might feel a ton of gratitude for. But at the end of the day, you know, if you're the leader, you're the one that's still steering the ship. And so it's so important for you as the leader to enhance the culture, to make your workplace somewhere that's enjoyable. Because, look, we all know when you can make an enjoyable atmosphere for your team, when you can show that you're invested in them and that you care about them and that you're shaping a culture of positivity and of growth, that has a positive effect on the bottom line. You might not be able to track it specifically through metrics or log into your Google Analytics account or something like that, but you will see an increase in customer satisfaction. You will see an increase in, you know, positive reviews and those sorts of things. So it's definitely something for you to think about. My thanks to Mat Koenig for joining me on the show today. If you want to check out the show notes and get linked up with Matthew Koenig, dude, I don't know if you likes being called Matthew or not, but whatever. www.thedealerplaybook.com/9090. And you know what? I never talk about this, but if you haven't had a chance to check out my best-selling book, Don't Wait, Dominate, definitely go do that. michaelacirillo.com/book. I would love for you to check it out. Maybe, who knows, we'll run a contest. And for those of you who submit an iTunes review, screen grab it and send it to michael@thedealerplaybook.com. I might just toss you out a free signed copy. How about that? There you go, guys. That's the Dealer Playbook. Do me a favor this week. Keep the playbook open and dominate.